Hello, Linnell here. Thanks for tuning in. Today I have the privilege of sitting down with Dr. Bruce Schultz, who is running for the Kansas State Board of Education, District 6. Dr. Schultz, thanks so much for having a discussion with me today. Really appreciate it. Can you let our audience know a little bit about yourself, please?
Okay, I'll start with a couple of things about, first of all, the School District 6 extends all the way from Lawrence through Topeka on over to Junction City, all on the south side of the Kansas River, and it extends as far south as Council Grove and Emporia. So pretty large area that includes both some metropolitan area and some ranch country. So pretty diverse set of school districts in all. 24 school districts have some representation in District 6 on the State Board of Education. Regarding me and my background, I've always been passionate about education. I've been involved in various forms of education for quite some time. This fall was my 57th first day of school. And so I've been
Wonderful.
been a part of education as a student, on through graduate school, and then into profession where I've most recently, over the last 25 years or so, been on school boards for local school board for 17 years, half of that, more than half of it, as the board chair. I've been the Board of Regents for a university that has a national audience. It's a university that has a large program in education, educational leadership, and educational administration, where I've been elected to the shared governance through the Faculty Senate, where I served on the executive committee. I've been appointed to administrative roles, been an associate department head, interim department head, and been on the faculty council. Probably most importantly, I've been a classroom teacher for about 40 years. And it's all the way from undergraduate, graduate programs, professional programs, but I've also been involved as a high school football coach in a number of different youth development programs, and working as a substitute teacher even in secondary or in elementary school. So a wide variety of experience and background.
I would say so, yes. So this is a rudimentary question, but how many individuals are on the Kansas State School Board?
Oh, there are 10 board members. Each board member has a district that is composed of 4 Senate districts in the state. Okay. And so my school board district is Senate District 2, 17, 19, and 20.
What are some of your top reasons for deciding to take on yet another role, this one in particular?
So, as I said, I'm passionate about education, and I want to see students do well. And I work on both sides of things. So I see students coming through college, I see students coming into professional programs that I would like to see have a much better foundation, foundations that start all the way in elementary school. And so I think academic performance through school, all the way from primary levels through high school, are really important to the success of individuals, to their career success, to giving them a foundation on which they can stand to go any direction that they want to go, whether it be into the workforce, into a technical school, into a university. I want them to have the skills that are necessary to be part of our society. And in order to do that, they have to have basic skills in communication, in mathematics, and in the sciences. I think that financial literacy is really, really important. Being certain that they understand what it means when you're entering into a contract, what it means when you're taking out a loan, and how you go about repaying that loan based upon the budget that you can develop. All of those skills are really important.
And it just helps the nation as well. Individuals succeeding helps a nation succeed. Yeah. I think right now, how is Kansas doing in terms of academics?
So there are different ways to measure academic success, but right now the Kansas Department of Education has established some benchmarks where they look at whether or not students are performing at their expected grade level, or if they're really exemplary, or if they need a little bit more help. And right now across the state, roughly 1/3 of students are determined to be performing at grade level, or 2/3 are not, whether it be in math, in communication and other language arts or in science. So 2/3 of the students aren't measuring up to the standards that are set by our Department of Education. I see that as a real problem. And I think that there are ways that we can address this problem. And these go toward some of the other high items on my list of to do that include such things as safety and engagement. And we can go on a little bit more on that as we move forward. So,
Sure, absolutely. I was just going to take a moment and say how difficult it would be as an individual not being able to read well, not being able to do daily math, not having financial literacy. I mean, that could really put a person in peril to not be able to take care of themselves and maybe even at risk for, getting in trouble with the law.
yeah, and just simple reading things. So we always say, okay, read a newspaper. Anymore, it's hard to find a newspaper.
Right.
But when people enter the workforce, when people enter professional activities, they need to have professional communication skills. They need to know how to use the information that they have at hand to answer questions, to address questions, and help them make decisions that are wise as they move forward in life. And so that's why education is just so important, to make sure that we have this next generation that is going to keep this society great.
Absolutely. And it helps all of us.
It helps all of us.
By all means. So one thing I sometimes hear concern about, and rightly so, is the safety of schools. And that's a very broad topic, but what do you think can be done to make schools safer? What can be done or what is happening in terms of bullying? Just talk to those issues if you would.
Safety is a really big word because it encompasses so many things. So when we think of safety, especially after a national crisis or a nationally publicized event, we think about the external and the terribly violent things that can happen. And we become more and more aware of how those can occur. And some of the ways that you can deal with or prepare yourself for those is just simply having close activity, close cooperation between law enforcement and school district, between all of the administration. And it's really important that teachers have great rapport with students so that the students trust the teachers and that they can inform the teachers then if there are issues that they see popping up. Those are some of the best defenses that there are. So both having a professional law enforcement along with teachers and parents, children that are really aware. So that's the external and the big violent threats.
Yeah, very good.
But when it comes to safety in the classroom, children need to feel as though they can be confident that they will be accepted and that they can perform among their peers in order to be effective. And so if they feel as though they might be confrontationally bullied, that makes it an adverse situation for them. So teachers in general are pretty good at catching that, and they're pretty good at intervening. That's one of the places where I think we've done fairly well.
Kind of the classic bully.
The classic bully,
You can see
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
But one of the types of bullying that is a lot more problematic in many ways is what I will call exclusional bullying. And that is where individuals or a group of individuals don't allow someone to participate. And so there's not an outward physical threat, but rather never an opportunity to belong. And that is something that is hurtful to someone's development. It's hurtful to the opportunities they have. And it doesn't help with the building of teams, the building of communication skills, and so on down the line.
Right. If I can interject on that real quick, may I?
Sure.
I try to teach my kids, and I try to myself, and just have eyes for that when somebody's being excluded, to go reach out to them and bring them in. And so I see great opportunity in training to help kids see that, because I think even a lot of adults just are blind to that type of bullying that just excludes individuals.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not one that people really focus on much at all. And
Sure.
I've seen it many times, like in junior high football when I was coaching, where you had this tight clique of folks and maybe somebody that was on the fringe. And you have to work as a coach
Right.
to encourage the team to really be that, a team.
Yes.
And when they work together as a team, they just function so much better.
Absolutely.
And so I want to say one other type of bullying
Yes.
that comes to the top for me, and that is cyberbullying.
Yes.
And to me, that's another tool that can be used for exclusional bullying. And in our current environment in the classroom, cyberbullying can happen more readily because we have the ability to do covert communication between students or from students to outside sources. And so students are not developing the communication skills that they need, and they are not in the moment the way that they need to be part of the classroom. And so right now the Board of Education is hearing information from a task force on the role of electronics in the classroom. Personally, I think that we need to really consider whether or not we need to have cell phones in the classroom. I would say we have to look at that pretty seriously, and I would want to minimize it, if not exclude it, at least in the early grades. Because I just see it as not being good for the students because it quashes creativity, it reduces the ability to communicate, and it reduces the ability to form teams. It takes them away from doing physical activities, and so it adds to potentials for other health issues. There's just so many negatives about it that we have to consider and say, I think we could do better without it right now.
I'd have to agree with that. I mean, it could just be so distractive in the classroom, in addition to all that. And, oh man, kids are creative. Usually, as kids, you don't want to give them a tool that zaps their creativity. You want to foster that.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if people are really creative, they're thinking about all of the things that could be,
Yes.
rather than saying what someone else created.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, how do we get students to engage well with one another, with teachers, to care about the learning process, and to recognize the importance of education and want to learn more?
So, one of the things that I think is really important is the engagement of the community with the school. And there are so many positive things that come out of this. It'll be hard for me to remember all the things that I've thought about through the times that I've considered this. But I think first and foremost, parents need to have an opportunity to have a voice in the classroom. They need to have a voice with the administration. They need to have a voice with the school board. And in order for that voice to be effective, they need to know what's going on in the classroom. They need to know what the curriculum is and how it's implemented. And they need to be able to work with the teacher in implementing the lessons and perhaps broadening those lessons. If a parent knows what their children are being taught, the school day can be extended because parents are pretty creative and they will try to bring some of these lessons home in different ways to their kids. It lengthens the school days. If parents are engaged and respect the teachers, they will tell their kids listen to what their parents say. If the parents are saying positive things about the teachers, positive things about the school, the kid feels good about going there.
Sure.
On the flip side, if the parents are not engaged or if they are undermining what's happening, the children aren't there. And the school, it's going to be a tougher time for the teachers to work through school. One of the things that is also a big detriment to having a negative perspective on school is it's really hard to work where you aren't appreciated. And so if we can have better engagement of parents, of families, of community, that everyone is really supportive of their school, the teachers will feel much more appreciated.
Sure.
They will engage the community. They will embrace the community and be part of it. And if they're part of the community, the students respect them, and they are more effective as teachers. There's just so many positives that come out of having engagement between the families and the teachers and the schools in general.
And I'm seeing that come full circle, because if the students are truly learning skills that are going to help them later on in life, creating better communities and a better future, then the kids are going to buy into the fact that this is worthwhile, what I'm learning. And not only is it worthwhile, but I'm part of a team here where I belong. And then that cuts back on hopefully the bullying, and
Yeah,
it's a
so-
safer environment because we're one team.
Yes. One of the things is I've been looking at many different things regarding schools, and I've been thinking about what are the highest priorities. We've hit them here, but these are all so tightly interwoven
Indeed.
that you can't just say we'll focus on this or we'll focus on this.
Right.
They all come together. If we have a safe environment, students perform better. If parents are certain that we have a safe environment, if parents are certain that their children are being educated effectively, they will embrace what's going on in school. They will respect the teachers. Teachers will be feeling better about their employment. There's just so many positives that come out of this.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for that. I'm going to say, too, what you learn is so important. I remember sometimes in school thinking, can you just give me something that I can believe? I can believe the math you're teaching me. And so I was engaged. You know what? In history, if you could just take me to the original documents, then I would feel good about learning it because I know you're going back to the truest source for
Okay.
me to be able to know that what I'm putting the effort into learning is applicable and is true. So when it comes to reading, writing, arithmetic, science, math, how important is it to you to be able to root those things, those topics, in truth, in documents that are original, that make sense logically? Or should we just learn whatever we're being taught?
I'm a firm believer in the value of classical education, or at least using classical works in education. When I see more recently written books, I evaluate them looking at them differently than, for example, when you think about the lessons that are learned from Homer and all of the things that he had to deal with in his life. They are no different than what we deal with in life today. But there's been a couple of thousand years worth of looking at them through Homer's eyes. That is a perspective on how to deal with adversity, how to deal with circumstances that are perhaps beyond our control, or perhaps we need more information in order to bring them within our control. There's great things that can be learned from books such as that, or The Count of Monte Cristo, To Kill a Mockingbird, on down the line. You can name so many. The lessons are what's important, and those lessons have stood the test of time. And so we use them because the scope of what children learn as they go through life is built so much from the lessons that they see, and because they are reading, they are engaged in imagining the environment in which all of these decisions are being made.
Very good. So, in closing, what would you like to see the school board do differently? What do you feel you could accomplish if elected to this position?
I believe that the school board, more than anything else, needs to focus on education, needs to focus on academics. If we do that, everything else will fall into place. We need to be less distracted by giving gold stars to districts for items that do not directly impact the educational attainment of the students, and focus wholeheartedly on academics. In order to make academics be the most effective it can be, we need to have the engagement and the buy-in of the parents, the families, and the communities. If we have that, we'll be able to address many other issues, including safety in the classroom, safety in the community.
Very good. Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
wish you the best. And is there anything that folks can do to help your campaign?
You know, the one thing that I need more than anything else is just simply get the message out, name recognition.
Okay.
It'll be on the ballot. Vote for me.
Very good. Well, thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Schultz. All the best.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.